Welcome everyone to This is a Revolution, your RevPro podcast, here with George and Dave.
Hello.
How are we, mate? You good?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. It's
You surviving the heat wave?
oh mate, it's been a week, I'm not gonna lie, like heat waves, car breaking down, music festivals in between. Like it has been a week, but I'm glad.
Did you get to both Slam Dunk and Download? Has Download happened yet?
No, downloads in 2 weeks, thankfully.
Got ya.
Thankfully, because
Did you get to Slam Dunk?
I did. It was a ball ache, but I got there, which was the main thing. So yeah, the car, I was manifesting all kinds of this is wrong with it, that's wrong with it. Apparently, there's a little bit of plastic that holds your clutch onto your car. Plastic.
Okay.
And that snapped.
Plastic doesn't seem conducive to a hot engine.
No, but apparently that's what this car is made of. This Ford Fiesta is made from. Like, it has a bit of plastic in there, and it's lasted all this time I've had the car, and it eventually just snapped. Literally mere seconds from being physically on the busiest roundabout in Bournemouth.
Oh,
So I was quite fortunate when it did. I got towed away, mate, and I got left in this area where I thought I was getting repaired and taken home. I said to the guy, "Is it quite an easy repair?" He went, "Yeah, it is, for a garage." I was like, "Oh, okay." He went, "Yeah, someone will be with you in an hour to take you back." I was like, "Okay, cool. We're going to go with AA maths here, and that's going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours." So luckily, Bournemouth, lovely area. It was, this was at 3:45 on Thursday. Long story short, 10 p.m. the van comes and picks me up. Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah, they kept telling me it's going to be another hour. It's going to be another hour. I found out that they didn't actually put my call through to the rescue team until 8:20. So they'd already had me there by all that time. But the kicker was when I was asking them, telling them I'm worried my phone battery is going to run out and no one will know where I am. They were like, "Oh, there's an Asda across the road from me." I'm like, "No, there's not. I'm in a housing estate." Like, "Yeah, there's an Asda and a McDonald's." I'm like, "You've got the location that I was picked up from, haven't you? You've got me at the roundabout." Bear in mind as well, where I was like a dual carriageway followed by another dual carriageway. And he was like, "Yeah, you're just going to have to get yourself across the road safely and get to Asda." I'm like, one, no. Two, I'm not even there, mate. So I realised very quickly it didn't even have my location, nothing like this. But because I didn't want to run my phone battery down, I was sitting there quite literally with my own thoughts for 5 hours, and then I realised
that's a dangerous concept. That is.
Oh, it was, mate. It was. I went a bit mad. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like I was convinced I wasn't getting home that evening. And then so for Slam Dunk, we found. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a company called Big Green Coaches, and they do travel to events, right? So they pick up from Southampton. So I was talking to my brother about it. He was like, "I will pick you up when that coach arrives back in Southampton," which I thought would be around 3 a.m. I was like, "Are you sure?" So yeah, we'll do it. I was like, "Okay, cool." So I ended up getting up at 4:30 on Saturday morning to get the train through to Southampton early enough for the bus, and then spent the whole day on the festival site and got back home at 3 a.m. So arrived back in Southampton at 2, dropped back home at 3, and then had I think about 3.5 hours sleep when I got home, and then my body went, "It's time to get up."
Yeah.
So I
it does that to us at our age, mate, doesn't it?
I then survived that day until about 11 o'clock. So between 4:30 the previous morning and 11 o'clock the next day, I'd had 3.5 hours sleep.
There'll be young people that listen to this and are like, "Oh yeah, I do that all the time." It's like,
yeah,
you won't when you're our age, Sonny.
But you know what I also did, which was a bit of a throwback, mate? That night, my body went, "You are staying asleep until 10 a.m." And I didn't
wow.
I literally woke up at 10 and I was like, "Oh my God, I've not had sleep like that in such a long time." So
yeah.
But yeah,
mate, so your weekend sounds like it was highly eventful.
It was, mate, but I thought it was also going to be very costly with the car. But it turns out what they thought might have been a $3,000 fix might be about a £300 fix. So,
oh wow,
yeah, we'll take it.
Well, yep, we'll take
How
that.
was your weekend?
I fell in love, mate. I fell in love with the northwest of England. Absolutely gorgeous. I've never been. I was thinking about this earlier. the furthest north. I did a Scotland trip when I was like 16, but it was North Scotland as well, so it weren't even really like. It was very much we were in a different country. But in terms of England, I've never been further north than Manchester. And anything that I've kind of really done's been like East Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, that sort of route. We absolutely loved it. We went to Warrington for food on the way there, and then we spent the weekend pretty much between Lancaster, the Yorkshire Dales, the Peak District, the Lake District. Like, we kind of went all over, really.
Nice.
But it was absolutely gorgeous. Like, such a beautiful part of the world. Amazing food everywhere you go. Lovely people, lovely pace of life. So, yeah, proper chilled, mate, proper chilled.
Nice. Did you have to take the best road in the country, the A666?
The A666?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we did, because I think that would have stuck out in my head.
Yeah, it's usually when you're kind of anywhere close to sort of Bolton way, so that northwest. But yeah, it's like Bolton A666.
Love that.
Laugh every time I see it.
Bolton, the devil's town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've just looked up Bolton's. The reason I asked you is because it says, "Oh no, Lancashire, not Lancaster." Oh, that's me reading.
But we went past Bolton, but obviously not quite as close to it as needed for that one.
It's the best thing to do is just drive straight past it, from what I've heard. So. Oh, but yeah, babe, the show was a show on Sunday, which I'm sure we'll touch on at some point. But before we get kicked off there, well, first of all, if you can hear a little bit of background noise, it will be my fan. Please just ignore it. We're not going retro here and doing what we used to do and hotbox ourselves for 3 hours doing a podcast and having no fans on. We're old men, so we're going to keep them on. So if you can hear that background noise, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to deal with it or switch us off. At least wait till the end before you switch us off though. But before we get started, we just wanted to have a chat about the state of the podcast going forward, because we both came to the realization, I think, didn't we, over the last week or so, that on both sides we've probably not been as good at keeping this as a routine as at various times as we probably have been before. So usually what will happen is if my routine starts falling, Dave will be there to pick me up a little bit and we'll get back on track. When Dave's starting to fall, I'll be the same. And I think we're probably just being so busy with lots of things going on that we're both just been a bit like, so are we podding or forgetting or all of that sort of stuff. And we appreciate there's people out there who subscribe, and thank you to 2 new subscribers over the weekend. 190 people now. We're getting ever closer to that 200 number. But we do understand that there are people who watch and listen. Like I get texts from people going, "When's the new episode coming out? Is there a new episode coming out?" We get this, and I don't take it lightly that there are people that watch and listen to us and want to hear from us. And I don't know about you, Dave, but I've had podcasts where I've watched them and they go, "Yeah, we're going to do this every week. We're going to be here every week. We're never going away."
Yeah, it's ambitious, isn't it?
Then it just disappears and it never ever comes back. And you invest your time into it. And you go, "Oh, okay." And look, for every 1 or 2 people like that, that's what I'm like. There'll be people who'll just listen, and if it disappears, will go, "Oh, that's fine," and they'll just go and find something new. But for those people who do care and who have contributed and who have done that, we want to feel like we're giving a shit. So we actually had quite a direct conversation about it, didn't we? I say direct.
That's a bit of a are we going to shit or get off the pot kind of conversation?
Yeah, that's the word.
In the politest way possible.
Yeah, direct sounds like being direct as in rude. Like, none of that. But no, we were just like, and I think that's probably neither of our natural styles either to be that kind of direct with it. But yeah, shit or get off the pot is probably the right way, and just be like, are we still up for this? Are we still doing this?
It was a bit like, wasn't it? Like we've had a good run and we've had a laugh and we've had fun doing it, but are we at a point where we're too busy to keep doing it the way we always wanted to? We've kind of worked out a bit of a nice schedule for it, haven't we? And we think that we can get a routine for both us, which works because we're both quite routine people, but also a routine for listeners when they know where it's going to be every week and what day it's going to be. And I think that's, for me, when I listen to podcasts, I like knowing.
Yeah.
like the RevPro YouTube channel, I know I'm going to get the wrap up on a Monday and the reactions on a Tuesday. Like that's I plan. It's not like I plan my week around it, but like simple things. Like I quite often listen to a podcast on the drive to work. I like being able to follow that routine because it gets me in a good headspace for work. And then if my podcast isn't there, my routine's not there.
Yeah, same.
Work don't start the same way, and it's just something very small can just kind of irritate you at the start of the day. So hopefully we can negate that.
Yeah, and we also understand as well, like you said, that's a really good point, because it's not just routine in that sort of sense, but there'll be people that can only listen in certain windows of time because they've got family commitments. And it's all right for me if a podcast comes out, I can go, I can just stick that out now if I want to. But someone else might be putting the kids to bed or something like that, and what should have been the day before might not be as easy. And it then might be another couple of days before they can listen. I think one of the other things that we've discussed as well is about the way we present the podcast as well. And for some, it might look a little bit different to how we do this. You'll probably notice the last few episodes that we've taken a slightly different tact in the way that we're doing it. So what we were doing before is we were covering everything on the show. We were getting that whole card. We were going through everything. And what we were trying to do, and the reason behind it, was we're trying to make sure we give everything prominence and in-depth, because we watch a lot of great wrestlers and they deserve it. But the fact is, Dave has a full-time job. He has other responsibilities. I have the same. And trying to make sure that we're putting that much energy into it the whole time for everything was proving that episodes were then going on hour and a half. We were reminiscing about our very first episodes, which were like 3 hours back in the day, and we need to find that happy medium. So what our pledge to you is, once a week we'll be here, unless we can't be, which we'll put out on socials and we'll let you know that we can't be for whatever reason. The idea is that if we can't do our normal recording day, then we're going to try and find a day earlier, but still try and commit to the same release date, which at present we're going to try Thursdays and see how that lands and see how that works for everyone. So hopefully you'll have already had this on Thursday. If this has just come out on Friday, I failed already. But hey, but that's what we're going to try and do. But what we also want to do is we want to try and do it in a way that we talk about a couple of the big things that happen, the big story beats, and then spend a bit more time talk about everything else that's going on, because we still want to give that time, effort, and energy to everything. But we just understand that we can't be doing 3 weeks of this every week on top of everything that we've got going on. So the idea is we're going to come in and try and hit an hour to an hour and 15 every week. Isn't that right, Dave?
Yeah, it sounds good to me, mate. And like, there's so much. You think when we first started this podcast, there was no wrap up, there was no backstage reactions, there was no YouTube content, there wasn't a huge kind of like amount of content out there to get into with RevPro. So now it's kind of like, well, there's so, you want to find out what happened on the show. We don't have to be the podcast that tells you the results of the show. You've got the wrap up for that. Talking about we can kind of get into the nitty gritty and look at like all the bits that stood out to us and the bigger talking points, which is exactly what we're going to do today, right?
Absolutely, my friend, absolutely. And look, there's not a bigger talking point, I think, than the main event of Wembley. So we're going to cover the wider Revolution Rumble as part of our second segment on the pod, but Connor Mills, the ending to that Rumble was sublime for me, Dave. I thought it was great. I don't know about how it looked from where you were sat, because from where I think you were on the side where the hard cam was looking onto the ring. I
was pretty much where we sat for Global Wars, mate.
Yeah, cool. So that the way that Mills eliminated Oku to finish off that Rumble looked, it was strong. It was a really strong way of ending it. Did
you think he was going to win?
I've said all along that I thought Mills was going to be the winner, and I even went as far at home to just talk about what we think. I said I don't think there's going to be a final four. I think it's going to be a final three.
Yeah.
And we got a final 3 as well, because Andy does like to subvert expectations, and I think having a final 4, that's become a very established trope in wrestling, and you could argue that fans are expecting that now. So would a live crowd in Doncaster be expecting the same thing? Maybe, right? I don't know if they did it, but I thought final 3, given that you had Jay, Oku, and Mills in there, felt the right way to go. So getting those 3, yeah,
Quite a nice version of the trope, isn't it? You know, that kind of moment where the 4 take to the corner, realise they're the last 4.
Yeah.
It's almost like a camera cut that's going to happen to pan out. Like it's, you can kind of see all the wheels turning. I quite like the fact that they went with the 3.
Yeah, so do I.
I came to the belief that Oku and Mills were going to be the final 2, but I couldn't decide who was going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
My heart said Mills, my head said Oku, because I've always stood by the fact that I can't see Wembley's main event not having Michael Oku in it. But alas, we are both of the belief that we are still going to get Michael Oku in the main event of Wembley.
We are, yeah. So for me, that main event of getting there, that's always been the how do we get there, right? And I've said Mills to win the Rumble, and Oku somehow gets a shot at Jay. Okay, that's always been the way I thought it would go down, and I think it's the right way to do it as well, because I think if you had Conor, for some people, Conor's become a bit of a cuck, right? In the sense of he keeps coming close, but just keeps missing out. And it feels like every time he goes up against Oku, he does. And if he did that again, but still had him in the main event, like it just, he's lukewarm. He's Dean Ambrose going in to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 32, right? But giving him that big win and that big moment again felt like it solidified this anti-hero Mills, if you will. And then it was on the, I don't know if it was on the Revolution Rumble wrap up, where Andy and Dave are sitting chatting, and Oku comes in, and I can't remember. He basically says he's been a company man for all this time, and he doesn't ask for anything, but he just wants a shot at the title. And I think he even said,
and he alluded to the fact that Anthony Ogogo got a title shot at Epic Encounter, I think it was 2024, after he eliminated Oku.
That was it, yeah.
So it was, I liked that a lot, because it was, you got to see the Oku and Andy dynamic, to see that Oku isn't like, this is 100% a heel turn. Like it's definitely not a tease of it, but he is a conflicted heel. He believes that he is still doing the right things, and he's still trying to justify everything he does. And we saw that with his interactions with Amira, his interactions with Andy. On this week's Backstage Reactions, he has an interaction with Isaac Murray. So there's all these times where he's trying to justify the decisions that he's making. And at that point, you're like, yes, he's going to get this title shot. And then pinning Jay Joshua on Sunday really kind of solidifies that, even though on both times you look at it and it's like, it doesn't make Jay look weak, because Oku eliminated him by hitting him with a chair. He's beaten him in the gauntlet by hitting him with a chair. I suppose a big question for you is, when do you think they do Oku versus Jay?
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Is it as straightforward as Oku's going to beat him for us to get Oku versus Mills at the first attempt?
Okay, so when, right, let's look at the calendar now. So we're practically June by the time the next shows come around, okay?
Are you going on the RevPro website?
Yeah, let's load that up and we'll have a look. So
have a little look at the match graphic for me, mate, of the Cardiff show.
Cardiff show.
Is
this Unfinished Business?
Mm-hmm. Unfinished Business is the title. It's the week before Wembley. And they've chosen the picture of Oku being pulled off of TK Cooper by the contenders.
No, mate, it's changed.
Was it really?
That unfinished business picture has changed. Yeah.
What is it now?
It is now a picture or a silhouette. I'm going to share my screen to show you. And for those, it is a silhouette of one called Manders.
That's intriguing.
That
is intriguing.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on this page over the next couple of days and see if they're just changing.
Well, I looked at it today.
Oh, okay.
Genuinely today, I went on to see. We had a question on the Instagram page about the show in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
That's not on sale yet. And I wanted to just check that it wasn't on sale yet on the website. So I went on and had a quick check before I answered. And I saw the graphic earlier, and it was Oku with Isaac and Elvin and that pulling him off. It's interesting because I've had it. I'm not going to claim this one was my idea. A fan said to me at a show that they felt like the Oku versus Jay match would happen in Cardiff. So it would be extra heartbreaking for Jay to get so close to Wembley, and because that's the final show before Wembley, to miss out.
Okay, so let's look at it. So I don't know where I've got this from, but in my head, I've got it from somewhere that Summer Sizzler has been alluded to.
Summer Sizzler is 100% Bradford.
Yeah,
July.
But I mean on screen
something.
In canon, I was convinced. I've got this. I might have this wrong. I'm sure when Oki was having said chat with Andy or some kind of backstage reaction that Summer Sizzler might have been mentioned, which is why in my head Summer Sizzler has been the destination for me.
Other people have definitely mentioned Bradford. Young Guns have mentioned Bradford. You could well be right, mate. You could well be right.
Question.
I can't recall it being as direct as that. But is that where you'd go for?
You know what, right? So I like your idea.
6 weeks' time.
I like that idea, right? I think. Here's the thing. If we're getting what we think we're getting, and RevPro do it right, and this is me. Oh God, I sound like a pretentious dick saying that, right? You better do this right. But what I mean by right is Mills has come up loss after loss after loss, right? So if you don't have Mills win, it's kind of like Becky Lynch WrestleMania 35, right?
Mills has to win.
He has to win, right? So when you say if they do it right, which I think they will, that's where we're going with it. Cool. Okay. Main event done. You have to get there. Do you want Oku only having the belt a couple of weeks?
I don't.
No.
I want there to be a proper build. I want there to be like an attempted sit down with Mills and Oku. I want video packages of the history. And I don't want it to feel rushed.
No, which means for me,
I don't want a video package the night before Wembley. Yeah. I want this stuff. It's like I know I've got this fantastic meal coming, and I want all the bells and whistles. I want it to be presented to me. I want to smell it. I want to take it in. I want to savor every bite of it. So for me, the Cardiff show would be too late.
Yeah, and I would agree on that as well. And here's the other challenge I'd have back to that theory. I love the idea, right? So the idea of it being, okay, we're going to do this, and it's going to be heartbreaking for Jay, right? Like, that sounds really sadist, but I say I love that idea, right? Heartbreaking for him. However, where does that then leave Jay?
Yes.
Because
I feel like Jay needs a massive match at Wembley that's got also a proper build to it.
100%. And if you then take the title off him a bit earlier, you've got time for that. And I think, does Jay get a big import match? That's where I think I would go with this.
Yes, me too. So the fact that Eddie Kingston's going to be in London in 2 weeks' time, and the idea of an Eddie Kingston versus Jay Joshua match sounds delightful. There could be a seed sown there, just some kind of interaction between Eddie and Jay there. the fact that you've just shown me a picture of Manders versus Jay, I loved their last match so much that I would happily watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing for me is often when I've loved a match so much, the second one doesn't live up to the first because it just kind of can't.
It's hard to, isn't it? And that was it. Like when you had Oku versus Leon, most people said that they preferred the one at the anniversary show. For me, it was Global Wars. Like that was that when with two in such close. I know they've wrestled before, but for me, that was their first big one at that level. And then the same with Luke Ishii, like capturing lightning in the bottle again. Even
one of the things that RevPro does so well with their own homegrown talent of keeping their matches against each other quite far apart.
Yeah.
Like Oku and RKJ, Oku and Mills, like they don't tend to wrestle on a like too close at a time. 6 months to a year would be the limit.
Yeah.
Or it can go even longer. But they do tend to, when they have an import and they have a really hot match, look for a chance to run it again. I think, for me, I don't really... Like, we could sit here and we could fantasy book. You know, someone said Samoa Joe the other day.
And we will at some point, Dave.
At some point, we could list it.
But yeah... yeah.
But ultimately, I'm just happy as long as it is someone. I want a moment where you look at it and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's the match." You know, no disrespect intended here to anybody. I really wanted JJ Gal to have a big match last year at the anniversary show. Felt like he really deserved it, and he got Yuya Uemura, and he's awesome, and he's going to be a really, really big deal in New Japan, right? But the match graphic didn't quite hit me as much as I wanted it to. Bearing in mind, JJ had Ishii the year before. I wanted another one like that, really, for JJ to continue his trajectory. And I think for Jay, I want something that's going to hit me, not underwhelm.
Yeah.
And I want him to be nice and high up on the card. If he's not, if we're right and we don't think it's the main event, and I listened to the Andy podcast with Tom Campbell last week, and he said, didn't he? Andy said he knew what the main event for Wembley was going to be in August of last year. Now, I think that tells me that it's Mills and Oku.
Yeah.
More likely than maybe it's Mills and Jay. Because that, you know, you could say, well, there's a year-long story they've done there. But I just feel like the quintessential RevPro match is Michael Oku versus Connor Mills.
Agreed.
Like, it's a 6-year-long story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're both happy. Oku beats Jay at Summer Sizzler. Jay gets a big import match at Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
Mills beats Oku at Wembley.
Yeah, I would say so. And then maybe at Unfinished Business, you can run Manders and Jay.
Yeah.
Or does Mills have Unfinished Business with Manders?
Yeah. There's, I mean, Unfinished Business, I don't think is a new RevPro term. I'm pretty sure that's one they used to run in Stevenage.
Mm.
It rings a bell. The Stevenage shows often have got like a Raw Deal name, or I remember there being a Mayhem show in St. Neots years and years ago.
Yeah. God, that one's a throwback. Yeah.
So I don't know how much to look into the phrasing of it.
I hear you. Yeah.
I like the fact that they haven't got a show the week before Wembley.
Yes, same.
I feel like this is a better schedule. Big show in Wales, 2 weeks off, Wembley. That's gonna make it super awesome.
Yeah.
I know something I definitely want to pick your brain on, but maybe something we should discuss next week.
Oh.
Got a J Cup coming up. And the winner of the J Cup challenges at Wembley. I'm sure that's been official.
That has been official. Yeah, so look.
And obviously we have a new cruiserweight champion, right?
we do have a new cruiserweight champion, and that was a bit of a shock for me. I didn't see it coming, and well, I say a bit of a shock. It was very much of a shock. I thought Leyton would be losing again. I thought we'd get again. I prefer him so much as a heel. I think his presentation is just so much better. It's a better use of his skill set, and
Dude,
seeing
you
him,
should see him on merch.
yeah,
Unbelievable. Literally, from the moment he turned, he's sitting on merch with his feet up on the table, shouting at people, telling them to get out of the waiting area, buy something or fuck off. This little kid goes up to him. It was he didn't know it, but it's the son of a woman I work with. They'd randomly got tickets to Doncaster and I didn't know, and they like gave me a little wave. They'd been to RevPro before, I just didn't know they were coming to this show. And I said to him, he was like, do you think I can get a photo with him? And I said, go and ask, mate, go and ask for a photo. And the little lad goes over and he's like, excuse me, can I have a photo, please?
Oh, no.
And Leyton just turns around and says, go back to your mum, get a tenner, and then come back, yeah? And it's just, little lad was just like, oh, okay. It's so funny. Just immediately that character, because I'd always said I prefer the face Leyton Buzzard.
Yeah.
You prefer the heel Leyton Buzzard. And immediately he's locked into that character you love. And I'm like, yep, I can see why everybody loves him.
I think what it's always been for me is that I know he comes from a theatre background, but he's always been as a babyface. It's always felt a bit drama school in the way he,
which ties really in with what he's saying, right?
Yeah,
that he's been putting this mask on every day.
Yeah, and I think someone else said that to me actually, because it was a not a criticism I had, but it was just something that niggled me a bit. Once you notice it, it was kind of like, oh, I can't not hear it. And then this switch up, if like you said, if that is now, he's not that way anymore, and like actually the way he converses and speaks to people is that a little bit different, that little bit more cutthroat, cheeky, all of that sort of stuff. I think it's going to be really great. Like I'm here for it, but I did not expect the heel turn because I was all down for the fact that a couple of things was going to happen. Cameron Kai was going to win the J Cup, and look, that could still play into Leyton Buzzard, right? But if he's only just turned, again,
this is it.
Yeah, do we want Cam to get his shot and then again not win?
I thought Leyton would win the title.
Okay.
But I didn't think he'd turn.
Right, got you.
Then I thought Cam would win the J Cup and we'd have heel Cameron Kai versus face Leyton Buzzard.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at the end of that, they do a double turn, because I feel like even with Cameron being the way he is now, he's not like an out-and-out heel. He's just turned up his arrogance, which I actually like. I really like. So I feel like they could very easily turn Cam back at the switch of a plug. So I thought that would come at Wembley. Now that Buzzard's out-and-out heel, I'm looking for an out-and-out face to win the J Cup. And yeah, that's one we can dig into on another day, because I feel like there's not a really obvious candidate other than maybe Leon Cage. But we know with the J Cup, there's always that element of who are they booking for it? Because it could be, like we've had before, a Leo Rush, a Speedball Mike Bailey, an El Phantasmo, someone from outside coming in. So that'll be an interesting one. But that was definitely a big takeaway from the Rumble.
My mind has always been that an import will win the J Cup to give another big featured name on the Wembley card. That's where my mind has gone with this.
It feels like a really natural. So I think one thing Andy's really good at on the Wembley cards on the anniversary cards, is getting big names without it feeling like it's for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So it's always very deep in RevPro history or RevPro storyline and canon. Mm-hmm. J Cup's perfect for that, because we always get names from around the world, top quality wrestlers from around the world. And there is an element of random to it, in the sense that you can't ever predict who it's going to be. And then, like you say, that's a great way of getting a name on the show without them having to do too much, because all they've got to do is be in the country for Wembley, which they're probably going to be anyway, and be in the country on this random Saturday in Stevenage.
Yeah, exactly. Continuing the conversation of the Revolution Rumble and other things that happened there, we had it was an interesting match between Dani Luna and Alexxis Falcon, and you know what I really loved about this? There's few matches I think have had this kind of level of stakes going into it since maybe Young Guns versus JM Mills in Wolverhampton, where it feels like neither are in a position where they can lose. Not because it will damage their credibility, but because there's just so much in what they're doing. Like Dani's just returned. This is her first big feature match back. I know she's had a match, but it's a big feature, big spot. Alexxis is having a great run with that belt. And again, she's only just getting started with it.
Yeah.
So it felt like neither of these women could lose. But they did it in such a good way. It was a good, fun match. But they did it in a way that, again, doesn't take any shine off of Dani, but it still makes Alexxis still look strong, even though she cheated to win.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't know the ins and the outs of it enough to know who we're giving the credit to, other than everybody that's involved. Whether it is Alexxis has the freedom within the booking to determine how she's going to cheat, or whether she's given direction as to how she's going to cheat, because she seems to really vary it. So there are levels to it. I think back to Will Caven versus Leo Rush, where Caven did absolutely everything in the book to cheat and get away from Leo Rush. And it was funny, but it's probably not something I'm ever going to go back and watch again. Whereas Falcon has this way of sometimes she cheats and she's like the weasel that's got away with it. Sometimes she cheats a little bit earlier on in the match, but still wins quite strong. So she can then kind of take that victory as like a clean victory, but it's clean for Alexxis Falcon because she always does something. And I thought against Dani Luna, she would cheat a lot, so that Dani was like well protected.
Yeah.
But actually, I feel like she cheated the exact perfect amount so that she came away as a more credible champion. So I'd say that's her biggest victory so far on paper, but also in performance.
Yeah.
And then it was similar against Myla Grace on Sunday, which wasn't meant to be a championship match, but Myla kind of got in her head and goaded her into putting the title on the line, which is probably the first like weakness that we've seen from Alexxis.
Yeah.
You know, level-headed, she'd never let anybody get in her head. What does she have to gain from putting the championship on the line? But she had a moment of weakness by putting it up, and then she came out of it strong, cheating only that little bit, a few occasions where she broke the rules. And again, you're going away being like, do you know what? Actually, Alexxis Falcon is legitimately like a top-level champion. She doesn't need to cheat to win. She just chooses to, because it's easier. Yeah, I really, really like it. I'm loving Alexxis Falcon, like so much so.
Yeah.
I feel like she has been an absolute like revelation, because I'd seen her plenty before, and she's one of those people that just drawed me into other promotions. The stuff she did with Crowley in Progress when they were the tag team, like I found myself like sneaking onto Progress's socials and watching stuff and like feeling like I'm cheating on RevPro, but like just because I find her hilarious, but it was often quite silly hilarious, and like this is everything. She's legitimately funny, and then she's nasty, and then she's like cowardly, but also it's such a strange one because I live with 3 women, 1 fully grown one and 2 in the making, and they all love her. All 3 of them love her, but for all like completely different reasons. I think M like looks at her as being like, she says all the stuff that I wish I could say aloud, like as an adult. So Phoebe looks at her and she says that she's my favorite baddie because she's just like, she's so charismatic, even though she goes against everything Phoebe believes in. And then Soph has always loved the bad girls. Like Nina Samuels was her first favorite wrestler, and like she just looks at Alexxis Falcon and she's like, she is a queen. Yes, we like her. And it just makes me laugh because she should be widely hated.
Yeah.
But how can you?
Yeah, that's it. I think for me, what I found, and all those traits you'll talk about there again, this. What we're saying here, she's a very well-rounded character.
Yeah.
And that was something I can't say prior to RevPro that I felt with her. And I think that was maybe more of a symptom of the booking in a certain company, where I agree the legitimate funny side of her was there, but it didn't feel like they wanted to capture anything else but the funny side. And for me, at times, that meant that and it's the same with anyone, when you try and make a character like really 2-dimensional, whatever their objective is, whether it's to make you laugh, make you hate them, make them feel like tough and strong, you just lose so much because these characters are supposed to be humans and well-rounded humans with flaws and good points.
And they have to find that element of their character, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was chatting to Nico Angelo at Chaos before the last RevPro show in Cardiff, before Uprising, and we were just chatting, and I'd said how I went to Chaos to watch him because I don't get to see him in RevPro, and I think he's amazing. And we were reminiscing about his appearances in RevPro, and he said then, he was like, that was the start of my journey into who Nico Angelo is now. And like, he was even like himself, like quite reflective of the fact that it's like, it's taken him time to be who he is now. And you can see it when you look at everybody, if you watch them for long enough, how they find, like we saw it with Mills, like Mills finding himself through 2022 to 2023 to 2024. Then in 2024, he locked down who Connor Mills is. And now anybody can look at a photo of Mills, watch him come to the ring, and watch any 1-minute clip of him from any stage of any match. You know who Connor Mills is. And it's the same with like Jay Joshua. It's the same with Nico Angelo. It's the same with Alexxis Falcon. And that's what makes them 3-dimensional.
Yeah. It was great. Other things that I found really great. So before the match started, I put a few these are the things I think could happen in the Rumble or want to see happen in the Rumble. And I was very much like with some of them, like just going AJ Styles and stuff like that, right? I knew this wouldn't happen, but I gave my surprises.
Did you see John Cena there?
No, mate, I didn't see it.
That's because you can't see him.
So I put five picks for surprises in the Rumble, and I shout out to Shahan, who I said on there, I'm not sure where these people are, so if they're not available, don't tell me. Man like Darius was my number 1. Apparently he was in Australia, which I was informed about straight away, and I was like, mate, I said not to tell me.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, gotta love when it comes to. But my list for the Rumble was Man like Darius, Adam Priest, Endakara, who I think might still be injured. I wasn't aware of that one.
I was hopeful for Endakara because I feel like his timeline suggests he's soon.
Yeah.
Maybe just not quite soon enough.
Yeah. Kanji.
Love that.
Then number 5 was one of Zack Sabre Jr. or AJ Styles. So I'm sitting there scrolling on my phone and I get a little notification pop up on Twitter. And all it is a picture of some eyes. And then I quickly screenshot that. I'm like, right, okay, I'm keeping this one for a receipt later. And it disappeared very, very quickly, as it often does. I'm like, all right, so which one have I got right? And well, we got Kanji out, which was incredible,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. I thought this was a real. It was a tough line that they had to tread here. So you bring Kanji out, and the optics are that it's a woman in a men's rumble. Okay, so you can't just have all the men beat her up and chuck her out, because that looks
quite a physically small woman as well, right?
She is, even like
optics wise. It's not like when Dani Luna was wrestling with some Greedy Souls and Sunshine Machine a couple of years ago, and you're like, well, actually, Dani Luna looks like she could.
She's got a unit compared to, yeah, exactly. Whereas even compared to Dave Francisco, Kanji was noticeably smaller. So you don't want to give that. And I felt they did really well. Like they showed you like her actual wrestling ability, right? So she wasn't going to back down from anyone, nothing like that. And I was like, but it's got to be the right person. And I mean this with love and respect to David Francisco. I think he's a great performer. He's doing a lot of good work. But I felt it would have been wrong if he was on to eliminate Kanji, right? Yes, it would have got heat, but I felt like you've got a top level, champion level main eventer in the women's division in there. You needed to have someone of same level be the person that eliminates Kanji. That's my view on it anyway. I
never thought it'd be Rio.
No, and that's what I loved. Right, what I loved was how she was coming out and Kanji was like, see this? And then Rio just puts her down straight away.
And we pay attention to RevPro, right? Like we are more so than the average person in the Doncaster Dome. Like, we're sitting here doing a podcast about it. So we know everything that's going on between Kanji and Rio. But even then, I thought, well, they'll put that aside for the Rumble.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe they'll start on the same page and, have a moment later on where we're reminded of the conflict. But nope.
Again, living, breathing stories, subverting expectations, all of that stuff that we say that we want in intelligent wrestling to follow, right? And I thought it was great, like the way she just did it. I was like, right, so now you've had Kanji gone, so the first woman is gone at the hands of another woman, but it wouldn't have mattered who it was. If it was a top level man that did that the way that Rio did, you might have had does that look good? But the way you did it with Rio, and then Rio is a lot, like you said, a lot more physically dominant comparatively. So you've got someone who can match up with the guys a bit better in that regard as well. But
I liked how they placed it as well, because the middle of a rumble, I normally find that I've seen a fair few rumbles live now, and I find that first 5 or 6 you're up for, and then it starts to lull from number 7 or 8, and for about the next 10 people. And I feel like that's where you need to get it right, because once you get close to 20, everybody lifts back up again. So basically, you just need to keep them there from the initial to the final stretch. And this worked perfectly for that. Plus, Mills coming out earlier than you'd expect him to was excellent for that. I really liked how unapologetically RevPro it was. It was the most RevPro Rumble that we've had by a distance. There was no random Eugene.
No,
there was previous ones we had Igor Blong and Mike DeVecchio and Robert Dreisker and people like that, where it's like, oh, cool, we've brought somebody over especially for the Rumble, but at the expense of someone that's regularly wrestling for RevPro. The surprises were Rio and Kanji, right?
Yeah.
Like, other than those 2 surprises, everybody was kind of who you'd expect them to be. And I don't know, maybe like a big surprise for number 30, but I don't really like surprises for surprises' sake. And if you're going to do a big surprise, that means you're probably going to spend quite a lot of money on bringing somebody over for a big surprise and it not make a ton of sense, but just for the pop. And I like the fact that they just were like, no, there's so much talent already here. Let's just get them in the ring together.
And I think one of the things that for me was, it wasn't a surprise as such, right? So you were right, you had the surprises being Kanja and Rio, right? Because that was just, again, subverting expectations. What I found really interesting was Chicago Desai. So
yeah,
he won his match.
Yep.
Right. And all 4 men were in the Rumble. But he still drew the lowest number. I was like, okay, but again, look, we're talking about subverting expectations, right? And stuff like that. So I can't sit here and go, shouldn't he logically have got a higher number? No, it's random draw. So of course he's
maybe maybe that match could have been for the number 30 spot.
But you know what? I don't even know, because I don't even like knowing who's number 30. I hate that in Rumbles.
No, yeah.
I don't want to know.
They got 2 things right for me this year. They didn't, and they only announced 10 people.
Perfect.
So you've still got 20 surprises, and they numbered the entrants.
Yeah.
And on last year's Rumble, they didn't do that, and it frustrated me way more than it should have done.
Yeah, because we're like, is that everyone?
I was there trying in my head, instead of getting lost in the wrestling, I was like, I think we're on 24, so we've still got 6 people left, and they've said this person's coming, and this person's, and this person, so that leaves, and you're like, just shut up and watch the wrestling.
Yeah.
But I can't turn my brain off, so that's what my brain's doing. Whereas this year, it was like, clearly says number 26, and out comes number 26. Cool.
Yeah.
And the 10 people they've announced have all come except Kuro. So Kuro's going to be one of the last people. Cool. Yeah. Brilliant. I can just enjoy it.
Exactly.
And I know that's like really niche and specific, and it's like, specific to me, but I can't be the only person that prefers to see the numbers. I know I'm not the only person that doesn't like too many people to be announced, because that's a common thing talked about.
Yeah,
at the Rumbles, and
I get that they've got to sell tickets, right? Like
someone said to me in Sheffield, they were like, do you think they're going to announce a lot more people, or do you think they're going to stop there? And I said, in all honesty, I think it will completely depend on whether Andy thinks he needs to do another plug.
Yeah.
If they've sold enough tickets and he's like, cool, this is fine. Or if he's like, do you know what, we need to do one more big one, so let's choose our biggest name we've booked so far.
Yeah.
Plus, also, like in previous years, there have been a lot of people to announce, right? Mm-hmm. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody again, but putting a match graphic out that says Leyton Bryant is entering the Revolution Rumble isn't going to sell any extra tickets, right?
It's not. No, it's not.
In the same way that, if you take somebody more, further up the card than Leyton Bryant, and you say Mark Andrews is entering the Revolution Rumble, he wasn't announced, and he's a much bigger name than Leyland. But again, I don't think that's going to... Who realistically, is there anyone that's going to sell tickets in this day and age? Unless it is like, oh my God, AJ Styles is in the Revolution Rumble.
Like quite literally.
Of course, that's going to sell tickets.
The only name that I think they could have added to this that makes sense in RevPro canon, with who they've had and who they're having working with RevPro talent, would have been Ricochet, because big enough casual name, has an ongoing beef with Bryant's. Okay.
Yep.
Like that would be the only one to me that would be like, that would make
and
sense.
Then you look at it and you think the cost of bringing Ricochet over, putting him up in a hotel, sending him home the next day, probably equivalent to how much everybody else in the Rumble got paid combined, right?
Exactly. Another spot that I quite liked in there was the fact that when we got Subculture in there. I liked that, because that was a surprise for me. But also when they started with True and Lacey, and I was like, oh, I hope this gets a match out of this, because that would be good. Yeah. And not a little freshness.
The spot with the 4 or 5 of them all on on the ring apron together, I thought was a particular moment that I liked. And it got me thinking about whether or not we'll see... Are we going to see a Trios Grand Prix again this year?
Yes, we are. Because
and if so, are we going to... Could we see a subculture with Dani Luna as a team? Caventry and Lacey as a team?
Yeah.
Or was this purely just, let's get a match out of it?
Yeah.
Let's, have them doing something interesting.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure that they've announced, they have mentioned there's a Trios Grand Prix and that the demand are coming for it. But I think that has already, I'm pretty sure that's
yes.
all, yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah, you're right.
So,
and
yeah.
Andy's also announced, I don't know if you heard, I can't remember what he announced it on, that there's going to be another European excursion announced soon.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Nice. Not that automatically means Trios Grand Prix, but something else that's a little newsworthy.
Nice. Maybe I could be tempted.
Oh, yeah.
A little excursion.
The big one for me from the Revolution Rumble.
Oh, don't.
Did you see Slater Dojo beating Young Guns?
Right. So I was going to ask you a question as well. Who goes into the anniversary show as tag team champions, Dave?
Young Guns.
This is my problem with it, right? I've got, again, and I talk about subverting expectations, okay, a lot, and say how much I love it. But sometimes you have to do things, in my mind, you have to do things the traditional way, right? There is the, we can control this, therefore we should. And Young Guns' reign has been genuinely incredible. It might be my favourite tag team title reign of any promotion I've ever watched. For the quality of wrestling, for how fresh that it keeps feeling, for just the level of matches, how good they are with all of their opponents, how different their matches are. Everything you could want, variety. It's never once, for me at least, felt like it's ran its course. I've said all along, I could happily have this for another year. And there'll be people saying, well, we know what big Young Guns fan you are. Of course you'd want that. There's loads of title reigns I've had of wrestlers that I love where I go, it's time now. Like, let's move on to something else, make it a bit fresh. So I was kind of like, I didn't know. I've always said that whoever ends this reign, it has to be something that does something monumental for someone, right? And you've got two options here. You've got FTR, and they take it, and that's how you end it by that, or Young Guns beat FTR, and then you maybe build up to CPF, finally getting that win. Right, that to me was the route you go with it. I thought it was a really fun, good finish, but I felt that this reign didn't deserve that. I felt that this reign deserved something a bit more serious. And I think if we weren't building up to Young Guns FTR, I don't think it would bother me as much. But I've often said, and we've had this conversation before, I'm sure, where do we want them to drop it and then go in as champions? Again, I'm like, no, for me, that's just that.
And I was dead against it.
Yeah,
I was 100% no, they should be champions and booked strong all the way to to FTR.
Yeah, now I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a minute as well, because I think it's, again, I'm not the wrestling booker, I'm just the punter who goes and watches, right? So I'm not going to sit here and profess to know everything. Andy sees all the numbers for everything he does. He knows what works, and it's his business to promote it how he sees fit, right? So, but does it then mean that you give this match and Young Guns become even more locked in, even more vicious? Like, they've really amped that level up. Does that mean you've got like harder? These Young Guns have tasted defeat, so now does that make them even more vicious before they go into this match? I don't know. I suppose for me, this is.
I think it makes them more baby-faced. Because now, from someone who I'm often like, I love Young Guns. Like, I love Ethan Allen. I love Luke Jacobs. Like, I love watching them wrestle. They're brilliant. But in their matches, I often find myself cheering for the other team because I as a fan, I always cheer the faces and boo the heels, right? And often Young Guns are, even when it's two face teams, they're the more heelish team.
Of course, yeah.
But now, every match Young Guns have up until they win the titles back, I'm going to be desperate for them to win to make sure they win the titles back.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've got a more kind of a renewed urgency, and like the thing I didn't like the idea of it, but now we have it as a reality. I'm trying to look for the silver linings in it. And what I can see that's going to work well is I'm now going to care and invest in every Young Guns match for the next 2 months. Whereas beforehand, there would be an element of, well, Young Guns aren't going to lose because they've got FTR, right?
Okay.
And this brings around some jeopardy. But if they don't go into Wembley as champions, I will feel like that's a booking mistake.
And I had someone make a good point to me. So I was chatting with Marty about this, and we were talking about. Well, he was like, "Well, clearly you've got to take," and he's done this whole 180 from where he was, 360 even. So he was saying, "Well, of course FTR is not going to be, they're not going to be champions, and of course Young Guns aren't going to be FTR." Right, that was his view on it. So you have to get the belts off them. And it's like, okay, if that is the view, then cool, I understand that. And I'd have probably done it a little bit earlier. And his reasoning behind that was that FTR aren't going to be coming over doing indies. Right? And I was like, well, my view was, I would have said that about Mercedes Moné. I'd have said that about Ricochet. But what did we have on literally the same show? Mercedes Moné losing to Alexxis Falcon, and Ricochet in there with Gates of Agony. So RevPro has got this like bit of a super indie kind of thing to me at the moment, where nothing now
anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. It's an amazing position to be in, and does that mean FTR can win the belts and come back? And the feeling was, well, they're just not built for that. That's not the lifestyle that they probably want. They probably just want, they're over here, they're going to get a payday, have a great match. Cool. Okay. And I was like, I'm not going to bought that. I was like, yeah, I see that. I understand that. And then after everything that happened in Doncaster,
maybe they don't come back over. Maybe they lose them in America.
There is that option. But the other thing, then Marty turned around and said after Doncaster was, they're still winning those titles back in Bradford.
Yeah, which is hilarious, right? Because Leon's hometown.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things for me. If Young Guns weren't going into Wembley as champions, I wouldn't announce them versus FTR until after they'd lost the belts and had a chance to recover from it. So either, if they want to announce Young Guns versus FTR when they did to sell tickets, then have Young Guns lose the belts at the end of last year. If it's a case of we can announce it whenever we want to, and they wanted to lose the belts now, then have them announce it in 6 weeks' time after Young Guns have beaten a couple of teams, so that it feels like a big money match again. And then one that's literally, this thought's only come into my head tonight talking to you. Do you think we're going to get Leon Slater versus Liam Slater at Wembley?
Do you know what's really interesting? I thought we were getting that. I thought that was originally going to be in Bradford. That's what I thought the main event was going to be. I think
Liam will turn on Leon in front of his hometown.
He could well do, because I'm loving watching this breakdown of the Slater Dojo. But it's
fascinating. Like every bit of content that Liam Slater is involved in is must watch, must read. Like
and it's interesting as well. So I had to remind myself where Liam Slater was from. So he's from Keighley, which is a civil parish village market down in the city of Bradford. So you've got two very, very local lads there. Obviously, Leon Slater is the big name here, but what if he is leaving? So here's the other thing: we've all presumed that Leon is off to WWE, but there's been a lot of stuff that seems to be happening at the moment in terms of like he was on lots of like WWE stuff. He's been courted effectively, right? He was on SmackDown. He was on this. Not seen or hearing as much of that lately, and I'm not one.
I just feel like it's a case of it's all in agreement when his contract's up.
Well, and it could well be, and I'm not speculating to be like speculation's sake, but there have been rumblings.
I know he signed his contract in October.
Yeah, and there's been
of 2023.
I've been reading little rumblings that maybe that isn't as nailed on as we thought it was going to be. Right, and look, I'm not here to speculate on someone's future, right? Leon, go get a bag wherever the fuck you want, right? Like, just do it and show the world what you're about. But if this is his swan song from the Indies over here, I can't think of a better opponent for him. Like that, this lad he's earned the opportunity. But what I will also say,
if Cesaro got Zack Sabre Jr., Leon Slater deserves one of two people: AJ Styles or Liam Slater.
And look, I was fully of the belief. I've said this all along, right? I said, no way AJ Styles is going to have his last match in Saudi, right? That is just not happening. Once he's done, he's going on a run elsewhere for a bit of time. He's going to do a little bit of indies, probably AEW, put my teeth back in New Japan, and then done. My God, you might as well just buy him the fucking WWE cheerleaders outfit at this stage. Like, the man he's a pedophile if I've ever seen one. He's obviously got a role there where he's a talent scout. You know, he's basically he's American Jim Smallman. And
the idea,
there's a clip.
The idea that AJ Styles is the American Jim Smallman, as opposed to Jim Smallman being the European AJ Styles.
Absolutely.
Love it.
But yeah, so I just don't think that AJ Styles wrestling again. Actually, I don't think it's as nailed on as I thought it was even 3 months ago. I was convinced
For me, that's also one of those matches where it's like, if it's happening, announce it.
Yeah, and that was it.
It's not like AJ is going to be coming over to the UK to build this match.
So
the story's already there. Just announce it and sell tickets.
And
I'll be honest. I was never convinced. But that's probably just because I'm a natural pessimist.
Yeah,
I'm a West Ham fan, mate. I've got to be.
Well, the thing is, and that's it. You don't want to get yourself too wrapped up in this is going to happen because you'll get very.
No, Leon versus Liam to me, I really like, and I really also like what that means for everybody else. Like Cameron Kai being split between the two of them. Yeah. Like HMD and George Hunter, if George is going to be a regular part of it, they're very much Liam people.
Yeah.
But Cameron's always felt more like a Leon lad than a Liam lad.
Yeah.
What's going on with Harry Milligan? I've got no idea.
Gotcha.
He's the loosest part of the Slater Dojo.
Yeah. He was even there, if I'm honest. Yeah.
And, maybe that's going to be part of the story, the fact that Liam literally uses people until they're not useful anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, it's... So you can kind of start to see how Wembley could be starting to come together.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, for me, that is a great match you can have. Like I said, he's earned his right, but I will also say Liam's earned that right as well. So I know that it's taken me longer to get on the Liam Slater train than it did you. I know straight away you were very up for it right at the beginning, and there was a lot that you liked in how he presented himself. I'm like, he's just not clicking for me yet. He's really not clicking. And I think there was a few shows that I watched, and then it was the Revolution Rumble last year, and actually watching him, I was that, and I think it might have even been High Stakes. I think that actually might have been when it was in the Global Wars. And you saw him around ringside and stuff, and that was like, right, I'm starting to see it a bit more now. I
I feel like when it clicks with him, it stays clicked.
Yes, yeah, and
you see, because he's such a complicated. It's like we talked earlier about like 3-dimensional wrestlers. Like Liam Slater's almost like a 4-dimensional wrestler. Like he is I don't know where that wrestler ends and whoever the bloke that goes home at night begins, because he just feels like that is just Liam Slater, or in every possible way that's Liam Slater. But that can kind of work if you're someone like a Luke Jacobs, you know. Where does Luke Jacobs, the wrestler, end, and where does Luke Jacobs, the person, begin? Well, they don't really need to, because he's a really cool dude who's like aggressive and tough. Like, but Liam Slater is this complex, manipulative weasel.
Yeah. Interesting.
Maybe that's what he's like in real life.
Maybe it is.
I don't think he'd ever let you know, would he? And I quite like that.
Yeah, so do I, mate. Right.
Kayfabe is alive and real.
As we're wrapping up here, 5 minutes till my dinner's ready. Anything else you want to talk about, Dave? Anything interesting that piqued your interest that you just want to kind of get on record? We've got JJKL versus Manders coming up this weekend. And I think this Coventry card is quietly looking quite tasty. I've seen some people say that. The only matches I've seen so far have been that one. Shah versus DeReese.
Yep.
And Rio versus Kanji, which that way has changed. Again, I said to you earlier as we were texting, I want to speak about that because I think now I've got a different view of what the Wembley women's match will be. And now after that, I've also now shout at luck is what I think it's going to be, because I thought it was going to be a triple threat with Alexxis Falcon and Rio and Kanji, and it still could be, but now I'm like, where do we go?
Yeah, this is it, right? We've also got Amira versus Sky Smithson.
Nice.
Jay Joshua versus Big Tom Shire.
Oh, lovely.
So I feel like there's a really nice balance to this card already.
Yeah.
And all the matches feel like big time. I kind of feel like any Manders match feels like a big match. Any Jay Joshua match feels like a big match. Your two women's division matches are as big as they can get. You know, like you've got rivalries that have been building for quite a long time coming to a head. Like that's you don't get bigger than that unless you've got a championship on the line.
Yeah.
DeReese and Shah I thought was really, really good in Morecambe, and that was kind of the family-friendly version of DeReese versus Shah. Now we get to see the, gritty RevPro version of it. All we kind of need now is a bit cruiserweight division and tag division, and you've got a really well-rounded card.
Nice.
I know there'll be no Michael Oku because he's been given the week off. I remember from the wrap-up. I thought that was quite telling. He's been given the week off so Amira can focus on Sky Smiths.
Interesting.
Will he take the week off? Will he ignore Andy and come and ruin it for Amira?
There's layers to this, Dave. Absolutely layers.
And I can imagine someone is getting the wrath of the young guns.
Yeah.
Maybe the contenders.
Oh, yeah. Isaac Murray stay at home that day, mate.
Yeah, he got beaten up a few times in Morecambe. And seeing Christy the cat give Michael Oku a Stone Cold Stunner might just be my moment of the year so far.
Yeah, if you didn't believe Michael Oku was a heel up until that point, I've got something to tell you. That is a solidifier if nothing else ever did.
That is it, mate. Whoever kicks a cat in the balls, killed Kurt Zuma's football career. Maybe it'll kill Michael Oku's wrestling career.
Oh my god! I don't know what's worse, the Kurt Zuma reference or AJ Styles as the American Jim Smallman.
Yeah. Oh, I love it, mate. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back, and we will be back next week. Dave, been fun, mate. Catch you later.
See you later, bro.